Welcome back to another Pristine Productions here. I'm your mixing host here, Andrew Raber. And we're going to be talking about mixing with analog plugins here. So let's bring in a little bit of the drums here. And we're going to show you how we tighten up some stuff here. Shout out to all the fans. This is Soca Weekend here. Big up to all the Soca producers and artists all the way in Trinidad, Antigua, Barbados, Tobago, St. Kitts, all around Grenada, all my Soca family. And I'm gonna show you a four-track mix here, which I have the bass combined with instruments already in a wave track. And I'm going to show how we can tighten up the stuff and get everything rolling. Once you're a professional, you can dominate any mix as long as it's good raw materials here. So just waiting for some of you guys to hit me up and let me know how's it going, how's the weekend's going. Want to learn some tips and tricks using only the analog EQ. So let me dive right into my mix session here. Here is the horn section I have. As you can see, I'm using 4 tracks, and some of the instruments is combined with others. So let's go right into it. So I have a piano track here. It's a stereo track. Here we go. It's from one of the Korg workstations. And all the effects from this instrument here, it came with the patch. As you can see, I'm adding no sense here. I'm going to be using analog to tighten up the stuff. I have the drum and kick snare drums. If I isolate that for a minute. And then I have the bass here. 808 hitting with hi-hats, horn section. So what do you do when an artist sends you a 4-track wave session here? How do you do that? They sent you, and the reason why I'm doing this, I want to show you guys the power of mixing and knowing your frequency. In the spectrum, I have the bass and the hi-hats here. It's an 808 hit. So how am I going to deal with this? We have the drums there with some pre-effects, reverb, and the only 2 separation you can think about is the brass, and we have the piano. So first thing is first. Normally, when I receive a session, I would go ahead and start with the drum sections first. First of all, you want to check your gain stage. So let's bring up the mixer board here, and I'm going to check, see how my level is up. As you can see, the bass and the drums alone, they're just about hitting 0. I have a limiter on the stereo bus here, which is already pinging at the 0.2 ceiling. So let's get these drums under control here. So what I'm gonna do, let's do a little bit I'm not gonna route anything today. I'm gonna use analog plugins, and I'm gonna type in the. First of all, we analyze the sound. Let's hear the drums here, not the bass. I'm going to the drums here. Take a listen to just the drums here. Now, in the first 5 seconds there, I am hearing the snare drum is already compressed. Listen to the snare drum. So if I add a compressor on this drum here, it wouldn't sound good. This is already like a smashed compression from this drum kit. So we want to preserve that natural sound. I like the information from the kick. It's punchy. But let's see if we can do a little bit more. So I'm going to be adding the SSL channel here. Let's go to the channel strip. And the reason why I like to use analog plugins, I think they're the best thing in the whole world. There are cases where we as professionals will use clean EQ if we want to notch out certain things without introducing color or saturation. Nothing's wrong with that with the analog side. There's sometimes a matter of taste. And what I like about SSL solid state here is you get the best of both worlds. You get the compression, you get the gate, you get the EQ, high mids and lows, low mids, you get the phase switch. I would suggest you guys check the manual on the SSL channel strip. It's a beast. So let's listen to the drums. Now, from time to time, I'm going to switch on analog. There you can see a little bit of clip here. What we can do with this is bring the input a little bit down, maybe about there. Now a little red, as long as the light is blinking in the red and not staying in the red, you get what you call some good grit, some good distortion. But want to keep things minimized. I'm going to check the phase. If you're listening carefully and closely, when I switch the phase, the kick kind of goes like a little bit soft. Listen to the kick. Phase switch. Off. People might not tell you this, or the professionals. Sometimes things sound a little bit better, like the kick drum with the phase switch. That doesn't mean your mix is going to be terrible. Certain things actually sound good with the phase switch. Am I saying phase switch everything? No, I'm not saying that. So I know that the SSL here, I have a 30 kilohertz all the way up to 450 on the bass. I can affect the low mids from 200 to 2.5K. I can affect the frequencies from 600 up to 7K and 1.5 on the highs to 16K. Generally, kick information lives in the snap is going to be in about 3-4K range. So I'm going to see if I can get a little bit more. I'm going to use the SSL as a fader or a separation tool to affect the pre-recorded kick. Since I don't have the kick by itself, it's already coupled with the snare drum. So let's go ahead. I'm going to roll off here. Maybe a little bit of 40. Just to preserve some room to let that 808 bass cut through more. So let's try about a 3K, and we're going to boost. Now I'm affecting three things. I'm affecting the kick, snare drum, and toms. So I have to vary the frequency. Channel strip off. Listen to the snap of the kick. I know we're seeing red, but that's okay. I managed to get a little bit of a more knock on the kick without making everything harsh. Once again, channel strip off. Listen to the kick drum, channel strip on. So we have that on control. Let's take a look at the piano here. I'm going to pull up the SSL again. Type in the SSL channel strip here. For the sake of the tutorial, I'm going to edit this thing in solo. I'm going to roll off maybe about 100 there for the piano. I'm still getting body without the 100. I'm going to take out a little bit of resonance here. I'm going to shorten the cue. You don't want to take out too much because the piano is creating that nice stereo body. Let's add a little bit of top end. Right about here. I'm going to switch on analog mode so the SSL gives you the color. SSL off, SSL on. You might say, Ray, why don't you compress piano? It sounds a little bit uncompressed. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to control it a little bit by switching the compressor to a limiter mode. So I'm going to go about 4 or 5. Let's bring down the ratio a little bit. Anything above 4 to 1 is basically a limiter. So as you can see, the light is blinking on SSL here. It's acting as a limiter, catching just a little bit of peak to hold that piano in place. Let's bring in the drums. Now let's see how we're doing with the horns. And this is Soca Weekend, guys. Hit me up, send me a comment, let me know what's going on. I'm gonna add an SSL channel as well to the brass. We want to add a little bit of clarity and see how that affects the top end. Remember, horn sections are very dynamic and they should be very clear, not too clear to rip off your ears. A little bit of low pass. Boost to the 8K. Let's see how it sounds with piano. Now what I'm going to do here, since this is a dynamic wind instrument, I want a little bit more excitement in the horns. So I'm going to do some compression, which is going to automatically add more volume to the horn section. I'm going to bring it down with a fader. So let's turn up the ratio about 2 to 1. Bring the threshold up. 1 dB. Now let's see what we're doing with the bass. Let's see how the brass sounds without the SSL off. A little bit dull. Let's add in the SSL. Getting a little excitement there. Now let's see what's going on with this bad boy here. That's a lot of low end. Let's bring up the SSL here again. And I'm mixing pure with analog. I'm gonna roll off a little bit of bottom end of that 808. Listen to the 808. Too much. We want to preserve the fatness without losing too much low end. Generally, for low 8s, for 808s, I'm sorry, a little bit above 40 or 50. Remember, I'm affecting the hi-hats as well. Let's try a little bit of the I'm gonna go to about maybe the 400 range here. This frequency here, I'm taking out a little bit of 400 in the 808 while leaving the hi-hats intact. That's how we're separating the frequency. Let's try the phase. Not much of a difference. That means we're good. No phase issue. Since there's a lot going on with the bottom end, I'm going to do a little bit of softening. Just a little bit with compression. Switch the attack to fast so it softens up the signal here. I'm going to raise the ratio a little bit here so we get a little bit of activity on the lights. Push the threshold up. I can hear a little bit of knock, like a little resonant. Let's find that. I'm going to bend the cue as small as I can. Remember, there's no digital screen to show me this, so I'm going to smalling it here. I'm going to boost the dB. I'm going to sweep around the frequency. Right about there. Pull this down. Okay. And also, I'm going to take a little bit out of the mid-range. Let's look for that. Right about there. You can easily mess this up, guys. You have to make sure you're paying attention what your ears is listening to. Don't be afraid to bypass, unbypass, on. So if I bypass the SSL, notice that there's a bit less knock on the kick, or the 808 I mean, and you hear that resonant. If I put on the SSL, it softens up the compressor here. It's softening up the 808. Keep it underneath the rhythm, underneath the drums. Let's bring in drums. I'm going to add one more SSL EQ just so we can see if there's one more problematic area on that 808. and we're using the ears. So that's the thing. You gotta know your frequency. So let's start off about. I'm gonna tighten the Q here. I'm gonna start from 200. Right about there. And also opposite, if you want more grit on the 808, you can boost around that frequency like the 200. If I go about there, you're gonna get that more distortion sound. Check it out. So let's bring in the drums. Piano. And that's how we use the SSL to get things tight. Let's turn off all the inserts. Sound a little bit, a little bit thin, a little bit dull. Turn on back the inserts. The mix get a little bit more snappy, a little more tight. We're controlling the volume. So I want to stop there, guys. Remember to support me. Subscribe. Link in the description. Go on my website, www.pristineproduction.webstars.com. You can buy soca stems. You can even purchase my mixing course on mixing soca. So what we learned today is the power of analog plugins. They add grit, they add power, body, and dynamics to your signal. There are times when we require clean EQ to maybe do some surgery work, but there's a great benefit in using analog plugins to know the frequency you're mixing it on. All right, the gain stage, I did a video on that, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.